Good evening, everyone. You are watching Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing talk show. I'm your host, Christian Karasevich, and this week we've got a fantastic show for you. I'm going to be joined by my co-host, Nick Rishwain, but we've also got a fantastic guest. It's Chelsea Peitz. She's been on Social Chatter. I think this is her second time, but since then, she's done a lot of amazing things. One of those is she's written a book. It's called Talking in Pictures, How Snapchat Changed Cameras, Communication, and Communities. And so I'm going to bring her on. Nick's going to be managing the comments. We're over on Facebook Live today at facebook.com/social chefs. But let's bring Chelsea on and let's get down to talking about all the social media news this week. So Chelsea, it's great to have you on again on Social Chatter.
How are you? Thank you so much for inviting me back. I'm really excited to be here and always have a good time watching, but participating is even more fun. So thank you.
You're so welcome. And so you've written a book. Tell us a little bit about this book, by the way.
Yes, I wrote a book inspired by my personal experiences as a non-millennial professional person using Snapchat for business, which how many myths are right in that one sentence, and how it really opened my eyes and my business and how I market to really change it to be more authentic, to be camera first, and to learn how to really build an engaged community. So it's really more, it's about social media in general. And it's not just about Snapchat, but the principles apply to any camera first platform, whether it's Facebook Live or Instagram Live. So yeah, it's been a journey.
Very nice, very nice. And so by the way, how long did it take you to write a book? Because, I will say this, I get a lot of emails from people that are like, oh, hey, become a best-selling author in, like 30 minutes or whatever, random numbers they give. How long did it take you to actually write that book?
Yeah, so I read a book about writing books, and this book I read said you could do it in 90 days. And if you had nothing else to do, you probably could do it in 90 days. But I started in February. I would have finished in September if I had hired my editor sooner. But I finished right at the very beginning, end of September, beginning of October. So it was roughly around 9 months. Okay, 9 months.
Okay, great. And, and so that's pretty fantastic. I mean, that you have, you've written a book. I mean, a lot of people, they've probably got it on their list of like, hey, I want to write someday. But I guess the key thing is what? To just get started and
just do it. And the best thing is if you've never written a book before, you have such an incredible gift of ignorance is bliss. Truly, you have no idea what's going to go into it. And now that I've done it, I think it's going to be a lot harder to write a second one, because in the beginning, you don't know what you're doing and it's great and you're figuring out as you go. And it is a lot of work. But there's a beauty in doing something you've never done before, because you just don't know what to expect.
Very nice, very nice. So we were talking, before the show, and we were talking about how there's a lot of news this week, right? Some of this actually pertains to Snapchat. And so you ready to kick off this show? Let's talk about all these fantastic topics. Great. And by the way, for everybody watching, I've actually put up a link to Chelsea's book as well. You can go check it out on Amazon. How much is your book, by the way?
I think it's currently, Amazon will put sales without the author approving it. So I think it's anywhere from $20 to $22. You can also buy it on Kindle for $9.99. And I will be doing an Audible at some point.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So just drop that link in there for everybody. But by the way, I also heard, didn't you have a collectible book or something like that?
Well, I'm learning all these things about Amazon, which is a whole nother world in and of itself. And it went out of stock for a little while. And somebody just popped up and it said, for $1,033, you could buy a copy of the book. And I just thought that was hysterical. And somebody sent me a Snapchat and said, hey, I'm sure your book's really good, but I don't know if I can afford that. And I started laughing because I never saw it. And I was like, do not buy that. It's just out of stock. It'll be back in stock on Monday.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, Amazon does have a collectible status option for items that are typically you do it for rare and out of print items. Very famous works, from that are hundreds of years old and whatnot. So, but fantastic job on the book. I have to get my copy here, but fantastic job on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's kick off. Let's start talking about some news and let's see what's out there. So where do you want to start? You want to start at the bottom or the top of the list? Because we've got quite a number of topics.
Let's just go from the bottom up. How about that?
Perfect. Okay, great. So we're going to keep this, we'll keep it pretty quick. So first topic is, the fact that Facebook is adding, 800 new jobs to their London office?
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
What do you think about this? I mean, is this a good move, that Facebook's doing this? I mean, they're a California-based company.
I think there's always, this is just my personal opinion. I think there's always an ulterior motive. There's always, you look at like big companies like Gary Vee, who's actually a very big, successful company outside of the personality. And, when he moved to UK, it was for a very specific reason. There was a big kind of, in his opinion, a gap in the market that they could be really far ahead of other things. And it was maybe cheaper to go there than some other areas. So I think it's really interesting. And I immediately thought of all of my friends who are living over there. And I almost sent them messages like, hey, did you hear Facebook is coming? Like, maybe you should go check it out. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm not surprised that they're going, global. I'm sure they're going to be in many different countries. It's part of their kind of their global footprint, take over the world plan, I would assume.
Yeah, and in particular, in particular with this article, they have over, like 2,300, I think, employees is what they're going to have, I think, in London. But they are doing it where they're focusing on, I think it was engineering, in
Mm-hmm.
London. So personally, I think it's fantastic they're doing this. One is the job opportunities. I've actually known about this for quite a while. I've got a couple of people that are at Facebook, and they were actually moving to London, which was pretty fantastic when they first started rolling this out. So it's pretty great to see them doing this expansion. I think overall, this is going to be really good, for a business because, this shows Facebook's commitment. Like they're not just saying, well, hey, we're going to be this, company that you kind of don't really know what we're doing, what's going on. They're being transparent. They're moving, they're opening some offices. They're being very deliberate about what they're doing in those offices. And as a business, you should benefit because this just means there's going to be more opportunities in these locations.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And if I worked at Facebook in the United States and I got an opportunity to go to another country with Facebook, I would absolutely jump at that chance. I would be like, yes, sign me up. I will go to London. Where do I need to sign up?
Absolutely. And I just want to say, right now I'm in another country, and it's a very eye-opening experience. I learn a lot about the different cultures here. For example, back in the States, WhatsApp is huge. It's not huge.
Right.
But over here, that's the way that everybody communicates.
Everybody needs that. Exactly.
And it's pretty amazing, I think, because I'm getting to see the different perspectives and the different ways people do business, or, the things that they don't do business when they're conducting business. So it's pretty awesome. But I agree with you. If you have the opportunity to jump at that, definitely well worth it. So let's move on to topic 2. Topic 2 is about this social questionnaire feature. It's called Did You Know from Facebook. I'm going to drop this in the comments as well for everybody. So what is this feature exactly?
Well, I think it's basically, you could look at it one way of, they're just trying to get more information because they need more data. But I think it's really, in my opinion, Facebook has really been testing out a lot of different things. And, those tests, for good or for bad, are super public because everybody talks about them. There's articles written about it. And they've really kind of been struggling to become more of a conversational place and more of a community, which is why they're really focusing on groups. And I think that they're attempting to encourage people to share more because people have gone to Instagram stories and they went to Snapchat and it was, they really are nervous, I think, about getting boxed into this. You go there for news, it's political rants, it's Facebook ads type of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I want to bring this article up for everybody, just because this way I think we can show them. Yeah, actually, let me do this. I'll open the window for people. This way they can kind of see where they actually can access this. But yeah, they're basically adding this, and I think that makes a lot of sense, by the way. They're adding this, this feature that basically, gets people to share more about themselves on Facebook. It's called Did You Know? And it's accessible on your profile for desktop and mobile. This is actually how you access it on the mobile device. pulled up. There we go. This is how you do this on your. Actually, did that come up for everybody? Let's see. One second. I just want to get this screen pulled up. Okay, so basically what this feature is, you pull it up on your desktop or your mobile device, and it lets you answer questions about yourself. Here, let's see. There we go. So this is basically this window. Yeah, I think that'll actually work. Okay, so basically what it does is it lets you answer questions about yourself. From a business perspective, not a whole lot of information here for you as a business owner, but it's going to let you answer personal questions. Things like, the superpower I want most is my biggest inspiration in life. If I want to be stuck in an elevator with so-and-so, this is who it would be. As you mentioned, this is information that people can. Go ahead.
This is so funny because as somebody, and I'm sure you've come across this too, I do a lot of like coaching and I have trainings and stuff. They're taking your top 50 engaging post questions and they're basically putting it in the app. So how people are always like, here, try these 3 types of posts to get people to engage with you. And that's exactly what they did. They just built it in. It's so funny. Mm-hmm. Like, my biggest inspiration is, and people like go, or how you see those posts and people will put their thing and comment below with yours. So it's big.
And what's really interesting about this feature is I have 2 things. One is, as you mentioned, it's more data for Facebook to be able to improve the experience for you. But it's also, I think, a very interesting topic because it's one that I'm wondering, how are they going to get people to go back and actually access this and share this information? Because this is actually on your Facebook profile. So if you go to your Facebook profile on mobile, you swipe to you go to your Facebook profile on mobile, and then you just basically scroll down on your actual profile. You'll see this Did You Know section. You access it from the little hamburger menu on the bottom right. And then once you're in this section on your profile, you answer these questions. But the only way you know about it is if you're watching this show or you happen to have read about this on, CNN or some other news site. But how do you think they're going to actually get people to go back and do this? Because I think it's important that they do this, to have those conversations to give, to go beyond just.
With social media apps, sometimes they put things in like this and it's not going to end up that. I don't think Facebook stories is how it's going to end up, but that's the way they've got it right now. So it may not end up this way, but I personally feel that Facebook really has to figure out how to make a lot more money because it's just getting so big and there's so little room. It's just another way to serve up like ads and a cool experience. It could, they're going to like your superpower or whatever. There's so many things that they could start serving you based on those questions. So again, I'm kind of like a ulterior motive conspiracy theory kind of person. So I feel like that's what they're doing. And I don't know. I personally don't see any value in this myself.
Yeah. And that's a great point, actually. I, as I was going through the topics this week, I was thinking about all the monetization options. And that's the first thing that came into mind was, how is Facebook going to monetize this?
Right.
And I actually think you bring up a really good point, which is they could actually, use this to target you with ads. Now, for example, if it was the superpower I want most is, let's, say, in your case, like you're a mom, right? So maybe, in your case, maybe Facebook partners with like Bounty or, Procter and Gamble or somebody like that. And they start showing, relevant content based on, like, how do people how do you get things done? And then you become maybe a featured right. Maybe they feature products or maybe they're featuring things that are geared towards the superpower you mentioned.
Exactly. So, I agree with you 100%.
There's a lot of untapped potential here, I think, with this feature.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see if it lasts, if it morphs and what they do with it for sure.
Yeah. And as a business, what do you think I should do right now with this? Like, should I just, should I encourage my customers to go on and, fill this information out on my profile? What do you think?
I think if you can get people to do it, I'm not sure that you need to do it in that fashion. You could probably collect that information just by posting or doing a live and asking about it, and probably get better engagement. I guess I'd look at it and say, well, hey, it's some inspiration for me, and now I can do what I know works for me. Like for me, live video always works better. And so I don't know. I just don't see this being a huge, in the form that it's in now. I don't see this becoming a big thing. And I know they're trying to bring back like the super poke and all those things that we laugh at and think, come on, like nobody ever used that, right? But they've got to test stuff out. And I just think that they have something else in mind. It just happens to be in this format that they're testing it out.
Okay. Very good. So, by the way, Joey Basta is asking in the comments, is this good or bad? What do you think?
I don't think it's either. I think it's just an interesting way that they are testing new things, and it's kind of cool. I enjoy seeing the new tests. I was one of the first people that got the little rocket ship thing, and people probably have no idea what that is. But it's fun to kind of spot like what thing is different, and I don't think it's either. I think it just goes to show that Facebook is really making an effort to make this a more personal, community, conversation-based platform, which it's gotten away from.
Very good. Yeah. So let's do this. So we've talked a lot about this topic. We don't really know what direction it's going, but let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
So the next topic we've got for you today is Messenger for Kids.
Yes.
And this is a new feature from Facebook. I'm going to drop this here in the chat for everybody as well. I know you probably have a lot of opinions about this feature. So the bottom line is Facebook has come out with a new app. It's called Messenger Kids. You can find it in the App Store at Messenger. Just look for Messenger Kids. If you don't have it there, I'll drop a link to it in the chat for everybody. But what is this exactly?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, they're trying to capitalize on everyone they possibly can. They want all humans on Earth to be using Facebook, right? And their products. What's interesting is that I saw this. I actually, before you and I talked and you sent this to me, I found this article and I emailed it to my husband. And I just thought, that's interesting. We have a son that's going to be 5, and he's extremely tech savvy. He knows what Snapchat is and all of that. It's crazy how they understand these interfaces and how to work them. And I don't know. I mean, it's almost like the smartphone. When do you get a smartphone for your kid in this day and age? It used to be 13, then it was 10, and now it's 8, a lot of parents. And it's crazy when you think about it, but we're so connected with one another that I could understand why they would want to make that product and make a safe product for kids. Now, why can't they make something like that for adults? Because there's a lot of things that I don't want to see that are sent to me on a lot of platforms. So that's the part that kind of makes me a little bit nervous. Now, I did read collecting kids, and they say they're not going to be serving up any ads. If they don't serve up any ads, then I feel like I'm a little bit more okay with it. Collecting. I mean, if you're posting pictures on Instagram and Facebook of your kids, there's a lot of data they've already collected. So not sure that that's as big of a concern for me as the safety piece and how they're using it.
Yeah, and this is actually really so it's interesting you mentioned well, for starters, I guess I would say maybe, could Facebook be using this as a test to actually then improve the overall Messenger experience? I mean, they basically ported a lot of the features in Messenger to a Messenger Kids app. This feature, they've apparently worked a lot with families over quite a number of months to be able to, make it easy to use. They, one of the key features they're really touting are the parental controls, how easy it is to, turn those on and off and to see, who they can have conversations with. I guess for me, I love tech, but I also am wondering, why is tech, everybody says tech is so hard to use. And it's like, I mean, do we need to go back to having an adult's messenger app that's this easy?
Yeah. Well, and I saw that Nick asked if I would let my own son use it. And, that's an interesting question because when we travel, I only speak to my son via FaceTime. So, and like he knows how to use it. And like my mother-in-law, who's like 82, she's like holding the camera up to her ear. And I'm like, Mom, you look at the phone because I see your ear right now. And he takes it and he's totally talking and showing me things like he's able to figure that out. So it doesn't seem so foreign to me that I might use a messenger app to talk to my kid, even though he's going to be almost 5. But I'd have to really make sure it could be totally locked down and there weren't any ads and there weren't any like games that he could play that, I didn't know what was in it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And the funny thing was, as I was actually reading through this, I was actually thinking, is this going to be something where it's going to get hacked, for instance, because a lot of kids, I guess, are becoming, programmers at a very young age. Is this going to be something that it gets launched and all of a sudden, hey, tomorrow or next week, it's already hacked and people are, running different things on it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this.
See.
It is a very interesting feature they have, or a very interesting app. I do want to also bring up, by the way, I'm going to show the actual screen here so everybody can kind of see what this app looks like, because it's very basic. I memean, if you really kind of look at what's here, they've laid it out in a really nice way. So it's
kind of like the new age jitterbug. Do you ever see the ad for the jitterbug where it's like it has 4 buttons and that's it, and it's for seniors to like only touch like the 3 buttons. So yeah.
And by the way, there are also a couple other things that really that stood out for me on this particular app, or the fact that one, it's as you mentioned, just a couple of buttons here and there, but also. This reminds me a lot of Apple, actually. This reminds me a lot of when Apple came out with when they came out with what was the name of their camera called? When they came out with the name of their their camera, their webcam. This had a lot of the same like simple look and feel to it. But also the couple of things that also stood out for me also were you get the camera effects, you get frames, you get drawings, you get different masks. You get masks that are geared towards kids. For instance, you get fidget spinners, you get your dinosaurs, all that sort of stuff. So it really stood out to me in that sense. But I also thought that was, I know you said earlier they're not going to monetize this with ads, but I could totally see them monetizing this with, maybe their ads geared towards like kids, but they're parent approved maybe, or maybe, what they could even do is sell masks. I mean, I think Facebook should really look at partnering.
Yes, you're exactly right. Or like a game. Yeah.
Yeah. Partner, for instance, like, if I'm Facebook partner with Disney, like that way I can bring all the memovies that come out, I mean, it's a revenue stream. I don't have to advertise, but hey, I'm still selling something. It's a digital good. I could see that totally happening with this. And the mask, I mean, I will say the masks are so much fun. I mean, even as adults, I mean, I show people like the mask or, when they had Masquerade as a separate app, I show people that and like the adults are like, this is so cool.
Yeah. I remember Masquerade.
They do a fantastic job with this. So this is going to be a really neat topic. I think that, overall from a business perspective, I think the thing that concerns me the most is just the fact that this is something that, you as a parent have to manage. It's not something that you can just say, well, hey, let me just put this app on there and you start using it. You have to actually set it up. So you still have to take the time out of your schedule to learn how to use this.
True.
Okay, so let's keep moving. We got a lot of topics to still go through. So let's see, where are we at? We are at, here's another one. This one's actually very useful for your business pages. It's the fact that in early 2018, so apparently first quarter 2018, Facebook is going to be removing the ability to edit link post for all pages in Q1. This, I kind of just, I'll touch on this, but, the bottom line is Facebook wants to protect the integrity of their site. And to do that, they're not just going to let anyone and everyone edit their link posts on Facebook anymore. What they're looking to do is they're basically wanting you to do domain verification. And it's actually something that's very simple. All you have to do is simply, upload a file to your website. So whoever hosts your website, upload your file there, and then just go through a fairly quick process to go about doing this. And this just basically says, hey, this is my website domain. What do you think about this? Do you think that, this is a good move by Facebook to, push people to do domain verification?
Well, I think Facebook has come under some serious fire, and it's very close to my particular industry since I'm in the real estate industry, and real estate ads have come in under huge fire of late. And I guess fortunately,
why is that? Why is that, by the way? Why have they come into?
For people who are using them, legally and ethically and morally, like people that myself, there are great categories and demographics that are within Facebook. And for example, one of those that we used a lot was the empty nester. So, seniors that are looking to downsize, you could market to them properties. But now people have unfortunately gone in and they've abused those demographic targets in an inappropriate and illegal way, especially in real estate where you are absolutely by law not allowed to steer people or try to exclude people from purchasing in an area. And it's unfortunate that's happened. And now there's a lot of disclaimers. I've noticed that some of the ads are taking a lot longer to get approved. And they've removed quite a few of the categories that we used to use. And so like I said, empty nesters is gone. Even certain things like living in a house for a certain amount of years. So they've really changed a lot of that. So that's, I believe, a reflection of all the stuff that's happened, the political ads. And, they hired all those people and said, we're going to make sure that we go through all of this stuff. And in fact, I just reported something 2 days ago, and it sent me a message and it said, we really appreciate you reporting something. We take this seriously. So they've got a backlash. I think Mark Zuckerberg has this vision of this being a world communication tool that brings people together. He's a parent now. And, he, I think, is realizing that, there's a lot of things that go on Facebook and any social platform that are illegal, are immoral, are unethical, and they're just really trying to crack down on that stuff. And the people who are doing it the right way sometimes pay that price too. Hello? Am I out here by myself?
No, you're actually, no, we're back. No, we're back. I was just, just testing out a few things. I wanted to put you on because I wanted to give you the opportunity.
Okay, good. I was just
having you as a guest.
It all. I was like, hello.
Nah, no worries at all. So I'm going to show this domain verification to everybody, and show you how easy it is to use. But I think you make a great point. It's about pulling up. It's about being like, if you're doing certain things. I mean, Facebook, part of it's tied to politics, but also, how people are actually, how people are using things. And a lot of times people are using them in a manner that they really shouldn't be. And that ruins it for everybody. It's the same thing. Don't people always say that? What's the statement about, the saying about marketing? Like marketers always ruin things.
Marketers ruin it. One bad apple ruins the whole bunch. Yeah. So.
Yes, absolutely. So let me actually see. So this is the domain verification process, by the way, with Facebook. And let me see if I dropped this in the comments already for everybody. Let's see. Yeah, so there's a link to it in the comments already about domain verification, but it's this simple, guys. So you basically go into Business Manager. There's two ways you can do this. You go into Business Manager, you click on the business settings option that's up here in the right corner. And once you're in there, you're going to go down to the People and Assets tab and select the Domains option. And what this is going to do is it's going to ask you to download a file. You're going to then take that file, put it up on your web server. So if you manage your own website, it goes in the root directory. If you don't manage your website and you have somebody else that does it, send them a link to this article. They'll actually know how to do it. It should take about this takes 5-10 minutes maybe, Chelsea?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you know what you're doing, it's just going to take a few minutes. But typically, most people that I come across will just email it over to the person that will do it.
Yeah. And if you scroll down to the bottom, literally, it's 4 steps.
Yeah,
that's it. You put the file up there, you leave it there. I would actually say this is.
I love that part is easier than using Facebook Creator, which like was a step. Okay, but this is way more important. But yeah, this one's easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's I would compare this to when you want to verify your account on Pinterest. I think it's that easy. I mean, all you have to do is download the file, put it up in your server. It's probably in the same folder with the Pinterest file that you already uploaded, and that's it. And then you just come back and check it. So the benefit here is that you'll then have the ability to edit your links that you share on Facebook. Again, this is a very simple thing you can do as a business, but the benefit is that it also protects you because people don't go in there and they can't then misuse your content if they don't own the domain. So keep that in mind. So that's domain verification, guys. So let's move on. Anything else you want to add, actually, Chelsea, about that?
No, I think that's good. I think we nailed it on that one.
Very good. And I hope this moves into no, not there yet, but I did want to get into we talked about how Facebook wants to kind of control a lot of things, or they're starting to want to control things, but we'll get to that topic in a second here. So let's quickly talk about a new feature from YouTube. This one is called YouTube Reels, and it's basically YouTube's take on stories. You've already got Facebook stories, Instagram stories, Snapchat. Now you have YouTube stories to work with. And I'm actually really glad they came out with this. This has been something that I'm surprised YouTube has not had out, didn't have this out first. But they're currently working on a feature, YouTube Reels, that's basically going to let you create stories from your content. Are you a big YouTube user?
So I'm a big YouTube consumer. I'm actually starting a YouTube channel in 2018, so I'm going to learn a lot about YouTube. But I know I'm a little familiar with the creator piece where they kind of picked some people to be on the creator side of YouTube, which I thought was very interesting because I started to see them doing polls and kind of more interaction in between the videos, which I thought was interesting. But it's no surprise. I think people that are really into YouTube it's just a natural progression to do the stories. And, people that are huge Casey Neistat fans are going to be like, yeah, I want to watch his story. It's just another way to consume kind of more of a unedited, more personal real-time piece of it. So it's going to be interesting to see. I've not seen anything on it yet. I've never seen one yet.
Yeah, so this actually it's not out yet. They're kind of testing it in beta right now. And so not completely out yet, but let's show you guys what it looks like. So this is actually pretty neat. Okay, so here we go. We've got the YouTube Reels feature here, and this actually was, it was embedded in a post that's all the way down the page on the YouTube creator blog. But basically, this is your YouTube Reels feature. You basically go in, you can add different clips and whatnot to a reel. What also I think that I found really fascinating about this was that they let you create multiple reels. So, for example, if I'm doing something for example, I was traveling last week, and I would add different things to one story. Essentially, what was my day like? But in this case, I could be doing different things and add them to multiple reels. So I could essentially have different storyboards essentially set up. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is you have the opportunity to have these not expire. So your stories can live on forever, which I think is really, a really useful thing because as a business, you're constantly doing things to improve your business and grow it. And you might want to go back in time and look at it and say, well, hey, you know what did I do like last year? Like, hey, here's a highlight reel from 2017, for instance. That could be a really useful feature for this.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think it's timely that we're talking about YouTube Reels and the fact that it doesn't expire and the new highlights from Instagram as well. So it's interesting how, again, we're kind of experiencing this shift of everything being ephemeral to, maybe not, and still just sort of being real time. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, this is something that, it's in beta, so it's not something that everybody's going to have access to at the moment. But when YouTube rolls this out to everybody, you'll have the ability to add some stories. Now, I think it's really interesting that everything is pushing into storytelling. I think that, do you have any tips maybe for people that how do they figure out, what goes on Snapchat and what goes on Facebook and what goes on Instagram and hey, what goes on YouTube now?
I get that question every day pretty much. And I do believe that every platform has its own language and ecosystem, which is, kind of why you have to spend time and be a practitioner in it. But I think that the challenge when people hear storytelling is they don't understand that storytelling is simply just documenting. And then when they get that, they think, well, I don't have anything possibly exciting to document. I'm boring. I don't know what to say. And the only thing I can truly say about that is you just have to force yourself to do it. And eventually, weeks or months later, it'll just sort of feel a little bit more natural and you'll figure it out. I wish there was like a formula where you could say this and then do that and then cut from here and do that. I mean, everybody's watched a Casey Neistat blog and everybody can try to repeat that. But until you start doing it and get your own flavor, it's not going to be what you are watching other people that you are impressed and inspired by at that time.
And I think that is a fantastic point there. There's no formula for storytelling. I mean, the formula is, like there's a framework that says, well, hey, every story has this, this, and this, but there's no particular formula that says, well, hey, I'm going to do this formula and it's going to produce these results. Everybody is a little different. And you have to look at, different, people you follow, things that interest you. I mean, that's really what's going to help shape your stories. What do you do? Last week, for instance, I was doing some pretty amazing things. I don't know if you followed my stories, but, at one point I was riding a camel, for instance, in the desert. And so I was sharing little, do what?
That's pretty awesome. I mean, that's amazing. Be able to do that.
It was a lot of fun. And go ahead.
But I want to tell people too, because again, those kinds of experiences are so incredible to share with people, but there is something I really feel is very magical about the mundane, which is I think where Snapchat really excelled. And, you think about the people that you love the most, your spouse, your parents, your siblings, and the magic of the relationship happens in the moments where you're just hanging out. You're not talking about anything deep, particular. You're not having an experience. You're just with each other. So, that people look at all these, famous bloggers and they're like, oh my gosh, they're flying first class and they have all these cool things to go to and they have drone footage, but it doesn't have to be that way to tell a good story. It just has to be relatable and real. That's it.
Absolutely. And that's the really interesting thing about, just about all of that is, you need to just, you got to get out there, you got to test it. And, you got to you make your stories interesting or boring or whatever. I actually saw, by the way, a really great video this week. Derek Halpern, you probably have heard of him. He published a video and he said, you know what, this is what my day is like. And here's what he did. Basically set a camera up on his desk and he time-lapsed the video. And you can do that, by the way, with your iPhone. He time-lapsed it, and it was pretty simple. He was basically working at his computer all day as an entrepreneur, And he's like, everybody thinks it's, it's the glitz and the glamour and whatnot. And it's like, no, it's not like that. You mostly are chained to your computer and your mobile device in a lot of cases. So, for people who say there's shortcuts and whatnot, there aren't shortcuts. I mean, you still have to put in the work.
Oh, the hacks, the growth hackers, love them.
Yes, absolutely. So let's keep moving. We got a lot of topics left. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 6 topics left. So this one, I want to talk about this one because, it's not really business related, but I could see this being something that ties into what you said earlier about how Facebook's really kind of realizing there's things they need to control. So this is basically on Instagram. They have this feature now where if you go to tag certain hashtags, in this case, it's geared towards wildlife. If you go to use certain hashtags, they're going to pop up a content warning about the hashtag you're trying to use. In their case, they're trying to protect wildlife, but I want to talk about this from a business perspective. Let me show you this to everybody. So this is what we have here: protecting wildlife and nature from exploitation. When you go to use certain hashtags, hashtags associated with harmful behavior to animals or the environment, you're going to get a content advisory screen. Now, I want to dig deeper in this because I think this could actually be applied to additional hashtags that aren't just about protecting wildlife here. What do you think about this, by the way? Do you think that, is this going too far?
I mean, here's the thing. They're a publicly traded company, right? I mean, there's rules and regulations that they're going to have to follow for their stockholders and the public and what have you. And honestly, let's be real, they've already been doing it. They just haven't had a pop-up that's told you about it. There are plenty of banned hashtags and things that are out there where it's flagged. And like I said yesterday, I literally reported a picture on Facebook Marketplace. So it's nothing new. I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, my freedom of speech and whatever. I mean, I don't know that Instagram is the place for a deeper conversation about freedoms of speech and what have you. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to see any of that stuff. I mean, I'm okay with them having a banned hashtag list, which by the way, Snapchat is on the banned hashtag list on Instagram. So it truly is. So it's, yeah, I mean, great. I mean, I don't care. If there's people that are on there that are going to prevent them from seeing something awful that I wouldn't want to see, I'm fine with it. I'm not concerned about me looking up anything like that. So I think the people that are worried about it probably need to be worried about it.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. I could see this being a feature that, maybe it rolls out to Facebook, maybe it rolls out to, some additional hashtags on Instagram. I could see this being useful for, some of those hashtags where, like if you're in health and nutrition, you're selling that kind of product or, essentially from a direct sales standpoint, I could see those being very, something that might fall into the whole banned hashtags feature. I mean, I know people are always going to find a way around it by using different hashtags. That are not on that ban list, but I think that this gives the opportunity to to really give Facebook some additional control maybe over what hashtags are being used.
Yeah, I think it's going to just move more and more that way. I mean, it kind of has to, because again, remember, it's big business. I'm sure there's some lobbyists that we don't know about that's on the social media platforms that's pumping a lot of money into it. So when you sign up for Instagram and Facebook, you let them have all the rights to any conversations you have, any photos you have. It's all theirs. So remember, things that are free are not always free.
Absolutely. And, Cheval just made a really great comment, about all the people that are, that are sharing information that really are just kind of talking out of both ends, basically. That's kind of what we mean with, being able to protect, block certain hashtags and whatnot. So,
right.
So let's. So I don't think there's anything else to say about this particular feature. Do you? I mean, from a business perspective.
Yeah, I think there's nothing we can do. They make the rules, so we got to figure out a way around it. If a business wants to use a banned hashtag.
So let's. I'm going to just touch on one quick thing here. Let's talk about the Instagram stories and the highlighting and archiving feature that you alluded to earlier. This is, last week when we had, we had Moshe Isakian on last week, we talked about a slew of new features that Instagram was going to be coming out with, or they were testing. And one of those was the archiving and the stories highlights feature. So, this is actually a reality. I mean, that was pretty quick, I think, that they, that they came out with this feature. But what do we have going on here?
So I actually am really excited about this update. So I'm not usually that excited about the Instagram updates, but this one I'm all about, because it's kind of like a highlight reel in video for people to really get to know who you are. I think that's the way I would use it. So I could see me having little clips of maybe me speaking, maybe me with my family, just, to give people a sense of who I am. That's always there, and I can change it out when I want to. So I'm actually quite excited about this one. And I played around with it a little bit today. I didn't have anything that I felt like I wanted to archive or save, but I like it. And I think it's a really cool thing. And I'm glad that they're doing it. Again, very interesting that they're going away from disappearing and going more towards, saving those types of experiences.
Yeah. And I've showed a video here right now of some of the highlights, of the highlights feature. I think this is a really cool feature. I mean, again, this is getting into the storytelling aspect still. I mean, you're not just saying, hey, let me put everything as a highlight. Let me just pick the best ones.
Right.
So that's the first feature. And then
Instagram is kind of pick the best one kind of a place. I feel like you're not just throwing up any kind of picture on Instagram. You're picking the best one, So I feel like that makes sense with kind of the philosophy of what I see Instagram as.
Yeah, and that's a really great point. And here's the thing. I actually think that comes about because of the fact that you're on mobile and not on desktop. You're on mobile, you have a much more confined space to work with. So, you've got this one long, narrow feed versus if you're on a desktop, you're putting everything in your feed, and on the sidebar and on the other sidebar, you get ads and whatnot. Like, I think that's partly what contributes to that. But the bottom line is, so with this, stories highlights, this is going to be a new section on your profile. You're going to have the ability to create a new highlight. You tap the new circle, and then from there, you get to choose from your stories. You're able to choose any stories from your archive. You can set a cover for your highlight, give it a name, do something that basically stands out. This actually reminds me of a feature we talked about earlier today, right? Let's see, we were talking about, what was it? It was
the Reels?
The Reels feature, yeah. The ability to have different Reels, essentially. I mean, it's essentially the same type of thing. You're having different highlights in this case. And you can decide, you can also, like, the other things, I guess, that are important. So you can have as many highlights as you'd like. You can edit or remove a highlight. And then also, there are ways to let you share your personality and whatnot with people. So if you're using Instagram, and this is the thing, I think Instagram is going to be huge in 2018. It's one of those things where you can create different highlight reels for different things. And let me drop this in here and there and there and there and there. The more you post, it becomes less about posting to your feed versus more about, telling a story, I think.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because people ask me still all the time, well, how often should I be posting on X, Y, and Z? And it's funny because, I really have gotten away from posting in the feed as much. I'm just really stories based and streaming. And, I tell them, listen, if you love to post stuff, then you need to get on stories because that's the only place where people expect you to have multiple content all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, very great point, actually. Sorry, I was just reading a comment from Trisha Zodi. Sorry. I was trying to understand their comment, but they were asking about the stories highlights as well. But yeah, so that's the stories highlights feature. There's also the archive feature they've added. Tell us about that.
So the archive is basically going to be on your profile, and you can basically switch between your post archive and your stories archive. Now, I never actually archived anything. Like, a lot of people don't want to lose their content on Instagram, so instead of deleting it or removing it, they'll archive it, and it just kind of saves for them. So I kind of liken it because, again, I'm thinking Snapchat. It's sort of like memories, I'm going to call it, where it's like you're saving the stuff in like memories or somewhat of a cloud, and then you can access it. You can add it to your story. So again, I think it's just a way to enhance your story. Like today, when I was on Snapchat, I referenced something I did months ago, and I went to my memories and posted it to add to my story after that. I think it's kind of like that.
Very nice, very nice. And and I could see this also, by the way, possibly falling into your Facebook archive that you can download. As you're adding posts, archiving them and whatnot, I think they could end up in that file at some point because Facebook and Instagram are going to have to merge.
Right.
So very, 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 very useful features, I think. From a personal and business perspective.
I'm really excited for the highlight ones.
Me too. So let's. I've got two topics here left. I'm going to just touch on, what you mentioned. Have you done this embeddable snap codes thing yet for Snapchat?
Yes. So I was talking about how Snapchat connected with Coach, who obviously is trying to do a big rebrand, as somebody who has purchased Coach before. And they're pins that have technology embedded in them. You can scan them and apparently play some sort of arcade style game with it. So I happened to be scrolling before this show, and I got a Coach ad. And I clicked the play thing, and then you got to answer these questions. And they did say that if you went online or go into the store, that you were going to have to do a quiz, and then you were going to be able to win a pin. And so I don't think you can buy them, but it's the first ever time that they have combined technology with some sort of like wearable thing, not like spectacles that was their own, but with another collaboration. But it was cool. I mean, I unlocked a filter, but that was about it.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, here's the thing. I look at this and I say, you know what? Like Nick told me about this yesterday. I was like, hey, you know what? How is this actually useful for a business? He told me, like, the one part that this is going to be very useful for, Coach in this case is when you look at the demographics. Their demographics are the Snapchat user nowadays, and as a result, they're testing out something with Snapchat versus some I told him, I said, you know what, Louis Vuitton's not going to, for instance, possibly get into this, or Prada or Gucci, or the high end, super high end handbags and whatnot. Like, they're not going to get into this probably. Actually, I think Louis Vuitton did, but most of them are not going to get into it. But I think Coach, they know their demographics, so hey, they're testing something out. Unlock a filter. I think that's pretty sweet.
Well, and I think too, it's like very much like spectacles. I mean, let's be real. The thing that made spectacles successful was the hype. I mean, I will walk into every Coach store I walk past now because I'm a Snapchat fan, and I want to see if they have the golden ticket, right? I want to see if they're one of the 20 stores that has it, because then, first of all, it'd be cool. Second of all, I can use it for content and be like, wow, look, I got to try it. So they definitely, it's going to work for me. So I only assume it's going to work for the demographic that is seeing that ad or walking by and seeing some sort of campaign about it.
Absolutely, definitely. And as you mentioned, it's a limited edition product, or it's creating the it's creating the allure that it's a limited edition product. 20 stores, I think. Right. You can get them for free. You basically have to take a quiz, but pretty neat. So we'll see where that goes. I actually want to see more businesses get into using, whether it's snap codes or 10 codes and whatnot, like on products, to be able to actually take you to, for instance, if I buy, like, say, this sweatshirt, take me to the product's website, take me to a video, show me some different ways that I can wear this versus the one that you show me in the store. Exactly. Or, I got to go dig out that print catalog somewhere, Right. So I think that could be very useful. So I'm going to wrap this up with one last topic, and then we're going to talk about some tools real quick. Basically, it's the Snapchat redesign. What are your thoughts on this? Tell everybody about this. What happened here?
Kind of nervous because I love my Snapchat and I really don't want it to change too much. But I do agree with the theory behind what they're trying to do. They are not trying to be Facebook and Instagram, and they're making, in my opinion, a smart move of going the very total opposite direction. They're, in their words, trying to separate social and media, which is really what we talked about with Snapchat being an intimate personal network. I think they know that that's a win, and they're going all in on it. And I think it's really smart. I don't know if it will save it or not, but I like it. And I hope I'm not going to be disappointed when I get it.
So, the bottom line, as you mentioned, they're separating the social from the media. People said Snapchat was hard to use. So what they basically are doing is, on the left side, all your friends are going to be there. And then on the right side, it's going to be, on the right, it's going to be publishers, creators, and the community. So I think this actually makes a lot of sense. I think I've said this for the longest time. Snapchat has always been ahead of the curve. They've always been ahead of Facebook and Instagram in the ways that they're doing things. And I think that this is a really smart move. I mean, your Facebook newsfeed is ridiculously busy, right? And anybody who goes there, I mean, you go to your Facebook newsfeed, and what is it? Like, yes, it's algorithmic. And you see a lot of times posts from people that you haven't chatted with in a while, or you see a lot of posts from brands because, hey, they've got those dollars. Let me push them to the top. That's where I think Snapchat is really, where everybody's zigging, Snapchat zagging here. I think that it's, I think Snapchat is actually doing the right thing. So I'm excited to see where this.
I'm excited. So I keep checking every day, but I don't have it yet.
Yeah, I didn't have it yet either. But I mean, the bottom line, you can watch in 60 seconds here. They put a quick little video to kind of, show you how it works. Left side, right side. They are going to have some algorithmic features. They're still focusing on the camera. I think this is a good move by Snapchat. I mean, it's about capturing stories, as we've been talking a lot about tonight. And I think that that's going to continue to be the case, with Snapchat keeping the focus on the camera.
Yeah, so, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so let's talk about some tools real quick. I'm going to wrap the show up. We'll talk about some tools. I think there's a couple more topics we didn't cover. Those will be on the blog post recap that will go out here in a few hours. So let's talk about some tools. The first tool I have for everybody is called Audm. This particular tool is it's a very it's for people that are really busy. I mean, if you're really busy and you don't have the time to let me actually get this 1 second. So if you're really busy, you don't have the time to consume your content. You're in a car a lot of the time. This tool is a tool for you to basically take long form content and be able to have it to listen to it basically during your commute, wherever that is. So this is how much was this app? This is actually a free app. I think that it's a very useful tool for busy entrepreneurs. So if you're busy and you don't have time to consume things, this app, you basically get new stories from the top tier publishers, but they're read aloud by people who are audiobook narrators. So I think that's a really interesting take on things. But have you tried this, or do you use any other apps like this?
I am a huge podcast listener because I have a very long commute, and I have a commute to and from work every day. And so I am very big on Audible learning because I have a good almost 2 hours a day in a car minimum. So really important for me, as long as I can fast forward the speed and it's not like just on one speed. And it would be also cool if you could pick your voices. Like, I don't know if you could have, what's the guy that everybody loves from Shawshank Redemption? I need the hem.
Morgan Freeman. That would be awesome.
To read all of it. I know he could make $1 billion with one of these apps. If he's reading everything.
I'm surprised that he hasn't come out with something like this. Like Tom Hanks, for instance, he's into like typewriters, and Tom Hanks has a typewriter app.
Yes,
as well as a documentary on typewriters and whatnot too. But I can see Morgan Freeman totally doing that. But you can do some speeding up of the reading here, and work with different things. But so that's basically the first app for this week. It's a way for you to be able to still consume content without having to feel like hey, I got this huge stack. What am I going to do? How am I going to actually read through this?
Right.
So that's the first tool. Again, as I mentioned, it's a free app. You can download it for iOS. So let's bring on the last tool here, and then we'll wrap things up. How's that sound?
Okay.
So the last tool is one that I am particularly extremely excited about. I'm actually really interested in this because I think this is a smart move. This is actually from Google. It's called Small Thanks with Google. And what this does is it lets you go on, search for your business, and you can print and share custom materials such as posters, social images, and table tents using reviews from your customers. Now, of course, you obviously don't want to print out the 1-star reviews, but this is if people are leaving reviews about your business on Google, you don't want them just to stay there. You want to actually put these into use in your marketing materials or in your business itself. Have you had a chance to even check this out?
So I read about it, but I actually think it's brilliant, like beyond brilliant, because there's so many things. Like we always talk about bringing the online, offline, and like what else are you going to be doing? It's like when Facebook did the ads in the airport on the baggage carousels for Facebook Live, and I was like, brilliant! Like people are obviously standing there staring at nothing. I think it's a really good idea, and I think it's a way to get people into G Suite and to Google My Business and to all of their products, and it's a smart move, and I think it's going to be really interesting. And
I think the other thing that, at least for me, I like about this, I like the fact that one, they're telling you like what the business is that's at the top, but they're also giving you some different styles. You have some really creative styles that you can put in your business, whether it's in your window, on your table tents, at your register. It's showing who the reviewer is, the stars they gave them. It's also then giving you the opportunity to have the call to action at the bottom as well to say, support us with your reviews on Google. I mean, this is a win-win, I think, all around. It's a huge win for Google because it's going to get people, that are not leaving reviews to hopefully go and leave them on Google. I leave a lot of reviews on Google Maps. Where people basically find a lot of these, but also this is a big win for a business because it's free to go do this. It doesn't cost them anything. All you have to do is put in a little bit of time. The time is just going to be search for your business, and if it's not on there, add your business, and then you can go on and you can, in this case, like get a fantastic review, and your customers are going to win because, hey, let's say I'm the person that left that review. I'm going to get featured in your store. That's pretty awesome. I mean, this is 2 thumbs up. Big one.
For brilliant crowdsourcing, like meets smart business model, meets, oh, and by the way, you have to have Google reviews for your business. So it's a win all the way around. I feel like this is one of Google's most brilliant campaigns. It's awesome.
I will say that I hope that Google keeps this around. Your reviews, they don't have to just live on Google Maps. You want people to leave reviews on Google Maps, but hey, as a business, you want to be featuring their reviews, feature them on your website, feature them in your store. And so you have, on your website, put up a testimonial. On your physical business, take the item, print some of them out and put them in your business, and showcase the people that are coming there, because that's going to draw people to your business.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
I want to see how it rolls out. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is a huge win. So let's wrap things up. So I want to say a big thank you, Chelsea, for being a guest this week on Social Chatter. Sorry, guys, we ran about a minute or two over. Lots and lots and lots of topics to talk about this week. I hope you guys like the new format. Actually, I actually really like this. We're using Be Live this week. What did you think, Chelsea? Did you think it went pretty well?
I love Be Live. Be Live that's all I use. Be Live is the only live streaming one that I use, and I love it.
Yeah, and I will say from a user standpoint, I mean, I'm navigating this with just Chelsea here, and Nick is doing the Facebook comments, so went pretty well. But I want to thank Chelsea. Just a quick last question for you: where can people connect with you, Chelsea?
They can find me by my first and last name on every social platform. Usually it's Chelsea.Peitz, and I have kind of a, unusual last name, but you know all about that, Christian. It's Peitz, not IE. So find me under Chelsea Peitz or Chelsea.Peitz on pretty much every platform.
So is that I before E except after C, but in this case it's
correct.
E before I except after T.
The
okay. So
remember, it is like old McDonald, EIEIO.
So on that note, thanks a lot, Chelsea. Again, she's the author of Talking in Pictures. Fantastic. I think you got some fantastic reviews on your new book. So congrats on that. We put a link to her book there, and I'm going to wrap things up here and just say, thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in this week. If you really like, what we're doing here, please do us a favor, share the show, bring your friends, invite them to join. And next week, we're going to have Carrie Janig on as a guest on Social Chatter. But Chelsea, and by the way, and the show is at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week, next Thursday. That's December, the 14th, I think? Yeah. 14th. So next Thursday. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Chelsea, been a blast having you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
This was a lot of fun. So have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll see everybody later. Thanks a lot. Bye.